Good afternoon, you're welcome along to World Cup Daily. Group C and Group D are back on the agenda this afternoon in World Cup 2018 with Argentina versus Croatia. The pick of the games in Nizhny Novgorod this evening at 7 o'clock. We'll be crossing over to John Duggan, who has arrived in the city via overnight train in a little while. Joining me in studio this afternoon are Stephen Doyle and Nathan Murphy. Lads, good afternoon.
Hey on.
How are you?
You've brought your Argentina jersey, I see, and you're going to tell us all about this jersey because, unbeknownst to me, this isn't a current Argentina jersey.
I'm die-hard Argentina. I've been following them since 1986 when I sat on my daddy's knee watching Diego Maradona rip England to shreds. So ever since then... This is a bit awkward. But funnily enough, I actually got this shirt for the 2010 World Cup. And
well, I can't tell the difference, you see. I'm like, is that the current Argentina jersey? Is that the last World Cup? Is that just me? Or like, can you tell the difference between the different Argentina jerseys?
No. They tend to go with the same style. But I'd imagine if you were in Argentina and you were wearing an Ireland jersey, they'd go, what's the difference with this and the one from 2002?
Absolutely.
It's green.
Apparently this was modelled on the 86 shirt. This was like a tribute to the 86 shirt. And I have to say, I was actually in Barcelona that year when that World Cup was on for the Sonar Music Festival, and I wore this shirt a couple of days. And the love I got for this jersey was incredible. Absolutely.
Is this 2006? Oh,
man. This is 2010.
Oh, 2010.
2010, yeah.
Right, okay.
But listen, totally unbiased conversation about Argentina and Croatia now for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm going to be on the fence.
We are going to have very biased conversations about the best jerseys in this year's World Cup because it has been a topic for debate. I think the standard is quite high this year. If you want to get in touch, you can tweet us at Off The Ball or comment on the stream. We want to know what is your favourite World Cup 2018 jersey. Steve, we'll begin with you. What's your favourite 2018 jersey?
Argentina away.
Right, okay, I'm beginning to sense a theme here. Here we go. Here it is on screen. It's nice. I'm not a fashionista. You're more of a fashionista. Explain to us why this is a good jersey.
I have to say, when I saw it first on the rack, I'm kind of thinking, oh, I don't know about this. It's not great. But I have to say, when they came out onto that pitch on Saturday, I just thought they looked so sharp. It looked absolutely incredible. It's simple, to the point. It's actually the Colombia home jersey is the same design, just different colours. But it's a beaut, and I do like that Colombia one as well.
I don't like that.
No,
I don't like the three stripes.
Well, the three stripes on the actual front. I love that.
It looks like a training top.
I think it works really well on the Colombia jersey, which would be my favourite jersey in this year's World Cup. Okay. I think it just looks beautiful with the yellow and the red and the blue. See, I'm very basic. It's like, I like those colours.
I'm not a fan of that either. I never liked the Colombia jersey. I don't like the shade of yellow.
Do you know something there though? They need the blue shorts, don't they? The white shorts don't. They obviously had to wear those white shorts because they were clashing or weren't clashing with the other team. So, but
that's very high-end critique of football kits right there.
Johnny Styles.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your favourite one? You seem to hate every World Cup jersey.
Nigeria away.
Nigeria away.
So the home one is
slick.
Home one. That's the home one. The home one is very nice as well. Obviously, it's the hipster's choice, but the away one was getting a lot of stick.
It's not the
away
hipster's
one is
choice. It's sold out worldwide.
Well, there is that. What was it? 3 million pre-orders.
Yeah, it's like the most mainstream jersey that there's ever been.
Okay. Well, that's why I went for the away one.
Ah, okay. I see the hipster's choice,
which was a lovely shade of dark green.
There's going to be 3 million people regretting that shirt, I think, in a couple of years. I don't think it's
well, I did see that basically. I saw a tweet saying, any man over the age of 30 wearing that jersey, you're too old.
Yeah, a small bit. That is a very hot take, though, that you don't like the most popular jersey in the world.
No, it's just the sleeves and it just doesn't work.
The jersey is the least nice piece of apparel that Nigeria have. So the away jersey is class. All the training tops, all that sort of stuff.
Their travel kit,
but
the travel kit with the slip-on shoes and
all that.
Cracking. Absolutely brilliant.
Would you buy yourself one of those tracksuits?
The full kit?
Yeah.
full kit. Perhaps. I don't know. I think I'm a bit old.
At what age does it become unacceptable to do it? Like, am I allowed to do it?
Definitely. I have to say, I don't normally wear football shirts either. I haven't worn a football shirt until this. I just wore it especially for today. I think once you get past 35, maybe just leave the shirts. Forget about them.
I would say 30. Maybe even 28. During a World Cup, though, it's probably acceptable.
Yeah, to a certain extent. Like, what about names on the back of shirts? That ends at about 15, right?
Yeah.
15 and then
15 max.
Jerseys 25 and then full kits 35 or
you can
vice
wear
versa.
training top. I think you can wear a tracksuit top till you're 40.
Yeah. Yeah, that's acceptable, I think. Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
glad to hear that. We've laid down the ground rules right now. I'll make sure to live by those rules for the rest of my life. Just to remind you what the fixtures are today, it's Denmark versus Australia at 1 o'clock and France versus Peru at 4 o'clock, and then Argentina against Croatia, as we've been mentioning, at 7 o'clock. Other than John Duggan, we're also going to be speaking to Leon Blanche of BoyleSports a little bit later on in the show. He's at Royal Ascot, but he'll be filling us in on all the specials that BoyleSports have got going on for the next couple of days. You can log on to offtheball.com/BoyleSports to see their special offers for off-the-ball viewers and listeners. Before all that, though, let's play some Roy Keane from last night. If you missed this is the big punditry talking point from ITV last night.
The coaches I worked under at Man United, probably quite defence-minded. I always felt I had a decent relationship, particularly in his first spell at the club. His second spell when he came back. For some reason, towards the end of my time there, I found him really disrespectful towards me, so we had a bit of a fallout. You know, he questioned my loyalty, and I told him where to go. And one of my big regrets, really, I probably should have ripped his head off. But excellent coach, and he's doing an excellent job, has to be said.
It's kind of a little bit of choppy waters there when it comes to Roy Keane and Carlos Queiroz. Obviously, as we can pretty much hear right there, Queiroz, I'm not sure what he would have to say about all of that. It's been written about in Keane's book before. Like, were you aware that Keane was going to spout out like that to the level he did last night?
I think it just goes to show he can be a little bit petty, can't he?
A little bit? Come on. Forgive and forget is not really the Roy Keane way. He did counter it by saying that he was a very good coach. The problem with the book was that he said to Carlos Queiroz, basically, training was too repetitive, and he said, do you make love to your wife the same way every night? Now, as was pointed out, maybe it wasn't that exact language. Maybe Carlos does. Maybe that's the way Carlos likes these things. But ultimately, he says he's a good coach, so he didn't have a problem. I would like to see Roy Keane train a team in any sort of way that we look like we've any sort of a game plan.
Well, I think it's
a bit of repetition from Roy the odd time may not go astray.
I think it tells us an awful lot about the way Roy may view his own love life. I mean, like, repetition is not a good thing, according to him. Obviously, that's the way he's telling Queiroz. It was Kieran Cunningham, by the way, who pointed that out on Twitter the other day. Probably not what the term that Roy Keane used, make love to Queiroz' wife. It's probably not what he said. How do you view Keane so far in his punditry duties?
Yeah, well, he's just too general, isn't he? We've never seen Roy Keane on ITV giving any kind of in-depth analysis, giving us any kind of a breakdown of the game. You know, he was a absolutely fantastic midfielder, as we all know, for so many years, played against all the great players in that era, but we never get a breakdown of what's going on the pitch after a match. It's always generalisations, isn't it?
He's living off his reputation. Yeah. So he's essentially Jamie Redknapp, but a bit of a bollocks.
He's a read-the-quote. Like, how many times, you know, Roy Keane's on the telly analysing the game the night before, and then you see about 20 million articles the next day, clickbait articles. Oh, look what Roy Keane said on TV last night. He's rent-a-quote, isn't he?
Well, he's fully aware of it. I think part of Roy getting away with it is that a lot of the public feel that Roy ignores the press. He doesn't know what anyone thinks about him. He knows full well if he has a pop at Carlos Queiroz, it's going to go absolutely everywhere. You're right, there is no real tactical insight. The ITV panel has been very good because of the dynamic between Bilic, Keane and Wright. But even having four pundits when you have such a short period of time doesn't lend itself to going, well, here's what Carlos Queiroz was trying to do, here's the way he set up his fullbacks, here's what he did with the central midfielders. They don't get into that. They're looking for the 30-second soundbite, and there's nobody better than Roy to give it. I do think, actually, at this stage of the tournament, that's fine. It's like, I know Dunphy's getting a lot of criticism, as always, that he hasn't done his research, he hasn't done this, he hasn't done that. Who cares? A lot of these games are bland. 3-1 nils yesterday that were all forgettable. We'll never think about them again. But Dunphy kind of livens it up sometimes. Yeah. There's no as it rolls on and you're getting to the bigger, the better games, you do want someone to break down and say, well, actually, here's what Spain do differently to everybody else. But right now, you just want a bit of entertainment. Yeah, it's true. It's a good point, actually. And also, if any British broadcaster wants to have an extra pundit, it should be the BBC because of a lack of ads. And they're like cutting off to Gabby Logan, who's like in Repino or somewhere with the England camp at half-time in games. But I thought Richard actually summed it up quite well the other night with Joe and Keith, talking about how kind of Roy puts on this persona that he hates punditry, but in actual fact, he knows exactly what he's doing, as you say. He actually, deep down, loves the idea of giving his take on a game. Do you think Roy Keane understands football? Do you think if Roy Keane was given an opportunity, if the ITV said, we've 45 minutes to fill between games, go over there, we're going to go to, say, TV3 Brian Kerr style, where he does a different game, we want you to break it down, we're going to give you 7-8 minutes to explain what Carlos Queiroz was trying to do. Do you think he could do that? Do you think he understands the game to that level?
I think he could, yeah. I think he could, but it's just, I think he could, but I just think he knows that he can get away. He's getting paid a lot of money, and that he can get away with just giving these, quotes that get him into the headlines. But yeah, I definitely do. Yeah, no, I would think he could give a good breakdown of a game if he was asked to.
Well, there is one man that we know that loves football and he loves Russia. Have a look at this. Credits get better and better every time, John. Hello to Nizhny Novgorod. Wow, that looks amazing.
Owen, Stephen and Nathan, good afternoon. Where it's blowing a gale here, but I am in front of the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, one of the sites of Nizhny Novgorod, which is the 5th largest city in Russia, 1.3 population, 1.3 million, about 466 kilometers in Moscow to the east. Was known as Gorky in the Soviet era. For about 60 years. Maxim Gorky was a writer that Stalin liked, and they named the city after him. And this was a closed city, guys. So this was a huge car production city. It was a military production city, and for years it was a closed city. So that what that meant is foreigners were not allowed to come here. Locals who wanted to come here would have to go through the serious regulations to get here. And today, in 2018, we have Argentinian fans, we have Croatian fans, myself, coming to this city for a World Cup game. It's just a remarkable, the tides of history, how they can change.
Absolutely. Talk to us about your journey there first, before we touch a little bit more on Nizhny Novgorod. You travelled on the night train?
I did. I took the sleeper train. So it's effectively the same distance between London and Glasgow. It's free. It's one of the good things about the Russian World Cup and their hospitality. Fans and journalists are able to travel on trains for free if they book the train. So it was bumpy. You kind of half sleep. You don't really fully sleep, but I managed to wake up and everything was there. I was my friend on the train. These kind of compartments, it's like the kind of James Bond compartments. I didn't meet Jaws, but I did meet Daniel from Colombia, who and just shows the passion people have for football. That he came over here. He's going to the Argentina game. He's flying out then to Brazil against Costa Rica in St. Petersburg. He's seen Colombia against Senegal, I think in Samara or another city, and he's doing that on a shoestring. He's doing Airbnbs, but that's the passion that he has. And the likes of Peru are playing France today. 40,000 of them have travelled to Russia. So it was good. I got through it unscathed. What I did spot, lads, it's a really weird thing, because I was writing in my blog for Off the Ball, I called my diary yesterday, because you're kind of obviously interested in the food and you're interested in kind of things that we have back home. And I said, folks, you can get bounty bars here, you can get Guinness, you can get steaks here if you really want to sample the delights of back home. And then I went to a vending machine and I spotted the most rogue thing I think I've spotted here, which is a pineapple bounty bar. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I put the money in the vending machine and it wouldn't give it to me. So there was like a missed opportunity of life. I just kind of slipped me by that. I could have got that pineapple bounty, put it all on social media, but it didn't happen.
Saving you from yourself, John. You've survived the 10 days so far, John, very well. I do fear that the downfall may start with a story. I met Daniel from Colombia on the train.
How exotic though! It was like you used to go to the UK back in the 80s and get cherry Coke, getting these pineapple bounties.
Love the jersey, by the way, Stephen. But Daniel tells me he's working for an NGO and he's going to work in the border with Venezuela now. So I don't know. I didn't ask him any more questions, but no. In all seriousness, it's all above board. But lots of Argentinian fans here. It's just what I'm really curious about here is like Moscow's a big global city and a more open city than it was. But for people from Nizhny Novgorod, which I was saying was a closed city in the Soviet era, how must they be feeling? They must be extremely curious. I asked a waitress, and nobody speaks English here. Google Translate is one of the best things that's ever been created, because everything is done through Google Translate for the last couple of hours in terms of my dealings with services. But I just asked her through Google Translate, are people excited? Are they curious? And she kind of gave a thumbs up, kind of a 7 out of 10, I would say, in terms of people's kind of curiosity of this show that's come here for 6 times. They're hosting the quarterfinal here as well, Nizhny, 6 matches. They already hosted Sweden, South Korea, and they'll be hosting the quarterfinal as well. And of course, England on Sunday against Panama.
Yeah, there must be people of a certain age. Like, it was between the 50s and 80s that it was a closed city, I think, John. Like, people who are over the age of 50 or 60 must be looking around thinking to themselves, to a certain extent, this is amazing. This is kind of a level of cultural cocktails in their own club, inside in their own town, rather, that they've never, ever seen before, and they will never probably see for a long time again.
Well, if you were Andrei Sakharov, who was, I think, an opponent of the Soviet regime, he was exiled here. He was a physicist. Keith Duggan's written about him in the Irish Times. And, imagine, this is what I always think about the Berlin as well. Imagine if you're like living in 1985, you're a party member, and you're a young party member, or you're working for the police or whatever, and this is the only thing you know, and this is the only thing you're going to know, and you think this is going to go on forever. And the seismic, just the change in psychology for people. I'm sure people have obviously been opened up to society, but I think this is a big game changer for Russia, and I think this will leave a significant legacy, and hopefully positive.
You're off to see Messi once again tonight, John.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get more support from what I've been reading in training. Like Sampaoli has 12 times he's changed his team. He's never played the same team in a row, and from what I've been reading, he's going to go into a 3-4-3 formation. Gabriel Mercado, who played for him at Sevilla, on the right side of that three-man defence. I think Christian Pavon from Boca Juniors, who played well when he came on the other day, I expect would start possibly instead of Di Maria. Marcus Acuna might start on the left side midfield. All of this is intending to give Lionel Messi a bit more support and a bit more room so that he can actually not feel like he's carrying a whole nation on his shoulders.
Yeah, John, it was interesting because I was looking just a couple of well-respected Argentinian journalists on Twitter last night. There seems to be mixed kind of opinions. One guy seems to think there might be just one change where you'll have Perez coming in. Perez actually would have partnered Nemanja Matic at Benfica. Him coming in for Metza, but as you say there as well, like there is this talk of a 3-4-3. And I suppose two things about Sampaoli. As you say, he doesn't know his best team. And I think, anybody who's listened to John Giles over the years will know that, one of the key things, especially in these tournaments, you got to know your best team when you're starting that tournament. If you don't know your best team, you're messing around during the tournament, you really haven't got a hope in hell. And just the other thing on Sampaoli you might address as well is that he seems to really be trying hard to kind of take the pressure off Messi's shoulders. I know last night he was saying that people got to stop blaming Messi for every time something goes wrong with Argentina.
Yeah, I don't think Messi really. I would doubt he's paying attention himself to that. I think he's in his own mind. And as I said to Nathan on the radio the other day, that he just does not look like a man who's enjoying it. On the Messi cam, which I was put into my own brain on Saturday, and which I will do again this evening. But Croatia, obviously their tails are up. They beat Nigeria. We know the midfield they have: Rakitic, Luka Modric, good players. Mandzukic playing up front on his own. So what I'm curious about, Stephen and Nathan and Owen, is when does the panic set in if it doesn't go well early on? How much? Are they just going to once again decide, okay, Messi, just get the ball, take the ball, and try and do what you can?
It's understandable where Messi's frustration must come from, though, at international level over the last 10 years. There's such perfection, such expertise at Barcelona, even this season where they almost went through the entire season totally unbeaten. The level of expectation is still, there was criticism because they didn't achieve, and everything's at such a high level. And he's played on one of the greatest club sides of all time. And you come to international, and the quality of coaching probably isn't as good. They've little or no time together. You're not sure who your teammates are going to be. There's no opportunity to act. For all his individual brilliance, he's always worked within a system. Whereas here, it's, just go and do it. Just go and do it. And Aguero and Di Maria and all these guys will work around you, rather than actually at Barcelona, where he was either playing out on the right-hand side, this is what you do, you cut in, here's where, with Guardiola, we know when Messi has the ball here, somebody else, Xavi's going to be here, Iniesta's going to be here, Villa's going to be here. He has none of that. It's just an absolute free-for-all. And maybe, for all his genius, he is a very modern footballer. He's used to a high level of coaching, being told exactly what to do. That he doesn't want that. He doesn't want picking the ball up in a number 10 role and not know where everybody else is going to be. Yeah,
and they've actually, in Messi's time as a player with Argentina, they've had 8 different managers. And since the 2014 World Cup, this is Sampaoli's actually the 4th manager since the 2014 World Cup. And the guys that they're bringing in have no record at all of winning trophies, of being successful. The most recent guy, Bauza, before Sampaoli, he'd won nothing. And every club he'd been at before that, he'd spent maybe a year, 2 years at most at the different clubs. And Tata Martino, who had been at Barcelona, was the guy before that. Just the Argentinian FA, I think, need to take a lot of the blame here for what's gone wrong with Argentinian football over the last number of years.
I think you're right to the point, actually, John. I'm not sure you agree with this, that it wouldn't be a shock tonight. It wouldn't even be a minor shock were Croatia to win this match.
No, that's what I'm saying about when does the fear kick in? When do they start to panic, or will they start to panic? And I think that with all these changes again from Saturday, that's a bit of a worry for me at a World Cup. That he's had a year, and we're now talking about changing the system, and now we're talking about changing players. I didn't think they were that bad against Iceland. They could have won the game. I just think this reeks a little bit. And from what I believe is that Messi and Sampaoli, he's constantly consulting him, asking him what he thinks. Obviously, he's been fresh for this World Cup. I think he did play well the other day. For example, like Dybala, people might say, well, should he get in the team? And Messi's commented before that he thinks they play too similarly. And I think that's probably the reason why he won't get his chance. Maybe Pavon will get his chance. So I think it'll be a more attacking game. I don't think it'll be as defensive. But Croatia, who we should talk about, are a serious team who can play football. Should have beaten Portugal at Euro 2016, didn't. Can throw in a great performance and then an ordinary performance. But what all of these big tournaments, I think, is a lot about momentum. And it would be very sad, wouldn't it, if Argentina were going home? We'd lose a lot of colour and we'd lose a lot of intrigue, of course, in the tournament.
Who's going to win it, John?
Argentina.
All right, we've heard it there first. John Duggan calling an Argentina win against Croatia tonight. John, enjoy the match. We'll chat to you from Nizhny Novgorod tomorrow.
Lads, before I go, I'm just going to pan the camera around here. You can see
you're
the
at
stadium. Yeah, you can see the stadium there. So there's the stadium. We're on the Volga River here, so it's kind of a design like the Volga River. So England fans will be here as well over the weekend. Haven't seen any of them yet, lads, but I'm sure they'll be here in a good number by the time Sunday comes.
Make sure to pass on our regards to all the fans there. Pass on our regards to Daniel from Colombia again, if you see him ever again, John. Enjoy and stay safe out there. John Duggan there on the line from Russia. He'll be with us all throughout the tournament. He mentioned England fans there. One Englishman who's not in Russia and who's returned from the Maldives is John Terry. He put this up on Instagram yesterday, which caused a little bit of a stir. And when it comes to John Terry, things causing a stir wouldn't necessarily be a big deal. He basically put on his Instagram story that he had no volume on his television. Some people thought he was being sexist because that happened to be the match that was the first ever match commentated by a female commentator on the BBC, Vicky Sparks, looking after the Portugal game yesterday. There we go, having to watch this game with no volume, and things got, well, in John Terry's words, got a little bit out of hand. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to be able to put it in any more of a poetic way than JT himself is. So have a look at his explainer video afterwards.
Hi all, I just wanted to address an Instagram story that I posted earlier today that I've since deleted. I returned home from holiday from the Maldives today around 2 o'clock to find there's no audio in the house working whatsoever. Since then they've been out to fix it. So everything's working again now, but I was watching the game with no volume, simply posted that on my social media, and people have run away and kind of, made up their own kind of stories and run with it. It's gathered a bit of momentum on social media and also in the newspapers as well, but just wanted to clarify, completely untrue and simply not the case. So I hope this clears up the matter and we can move forward from there.
I love the fact that he's speaking on the camera like he's being interrogated. It was like, I returned from the Maldives at approximately 2 o'clock this afternoon. And my favourite line from it is, there was no audio working in the house whatsoever.
Whatsoever. But luckily a man has arrived back and it's all working again, so it's all fine.
It's John Terry, I'm not sure, does he know how unbelievably funny he is when he's trying to be very, very serious? Or is it just a matter of, nobody can take him seriously anymore? Nobody believes him.
Do you believe him?
Not particularly. No, it's hard to get into the ins and outs of the motives of John Terry via one Instagram story. It does seem rather unnecessary if he does have a sexist viewpoint to actually put that up on his Instagram story. What does he actually have to gain by doing that?
I don't know. John Terry, he's not that much of an idiot that he wouldn't realise if he was to be having a pop at a female commentator on the BBC that it wouldn't be picked up.
Yeah.
He's got to know that it's going to cause issues.
The most worrying thing I thought from it was, if you actually looked at all the people that posted this video, the Instagram picture, the replies from English males agreeing with John Terry. Well, I'm not saying agreeing with him, but backing up the point of view that there shouldn't be a female commentator commentating on a football match. That's what worried me most. It's the attitude of young Englishmen, and I'm talking young Englishmen. That's what, if it was older English guys, you might kind of go, these are old fellas, but young Englishmen now, we've got a generation coming up who still think that there should be no female football commentators. That's quite worrying.
I wonder were they any of the same people making those salutes in Volgograd recently? Who knows? Taking a ball and running with it, and a ball that potentially wasn't even there in the first place, is one way of putting that. For the time being, before the game kicks off, the early game, which is Denmark against Australia, we're going to cross over to Royal Ascot because Leon Blanche of BoyleSports is there for us. Leon, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Owen. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Denmark, Australia, the early game. You'll get stuck into this one straight away because you can hop onto the BoyleSports app before 1 o'clock to place a couple of quid on this. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be tight. I think Australia were very good in their first game against France. France were a little bit lucky. Pogba scoring an 80th minute winner in terms of getting the 3 points against Australia. That would have been a fantastic draw if they could have held on. And Denmark, they weren't really exciting, but they got the job done in their first game. And as Irish fans know, they're very good at just getting over the line. They're slight favourites here. Denmark, 21-20, a little bit better than even money. Australia are the outsiders at 3-1, and the draw is at 9-4. I don't see a lot of goals in this. I think it could be a low-scoring affair. If you fancy Denmark, 1-0 is 9-2. 1-all is a 5-1 chance. So I think looking at the correct score of the game, it's a low-scoring game that seems to be the favourite in terms of the odds we're giving. Ericsson is a 6-1 chance to score the first goal, and even for no goal to be scored in the game, it's only an 11-2 chance. So I don't think this is going to be a huge scoring affair. I think it's going to be very tight, but I expect Denmark again just to get over the line and go into their final group game with 6 points.
Yeah, we'll move on to France against Peru. Kicks off at 4 o'clock. Our charity bet is going on this game this afternoon, Leon. France to win and both teams to score at odds of 3-1, I think.
3-1, yeah. Look, I mean, I was impressed with Peru. As I said, against Denmark, they weren't overawed in terms of the occasion. And I think going into this game against France, they've nothing to lose. Everyone expects France to improve from their first performance, and that's why the French are 7-4 on favourites. The draw here is 14-5, and Peru are a big price at 6-1. You'd have to think France, though, they should get better than that first performance. Griezmann, I think he's going to be okay. I think he's after getting over his little ankle injury. He's 7-2 favourite to open the scoring. But Pogba, I think he's a big confidence player, and it'll do him the world of good in terms of scoring that winner in the opening game. If I was looking at a first goal scorer, I think at 15-2, Pogba represents a little bit of value. I actually fancy France to win, and I think over 1.5 goals at even money. I think that's probably the place where I would place a bet in terms of this game. France need to improve their performance. Obviously, they'll be looking at the game that happened at 1 o'clock, and if Denmark are to win, I think it puts a little bit of extra pressure on the French in terms of them getting 6 points and facing the Danes in their last group game. But I think France will win, and I think over 1.5 goals at even money would be the way I'd be looking at it.
Yeah, it sounds like good value, all right. Even just as good value as that is in the Argentina game, because there's a BoyleSports special, if you go on to offtheball.com/BoyleSports, for Messi to score in the Croatia match and Argentina to win. That was at 13-8. What are the odds on that one now, Leon?
Well, I see Stephen is wearing his Argentinian jersey, so I'm sure he'll be hoping that Messi can do the business. Look, 6-4 was Messi in Argentina. We're enhancing that out to 9-4 for offtheball.com/BoyleSports. I think everyone wants Messi to do well. He's one of the best players of all time. The pressure is on him, however. He knows that he missed the penalty that would have given his country an opening group game victory over Iceland. It didn't happen. But I tipped up Croatia before this group started in terms of maybe winning the group. And they're coming into this game knowing that Argentina probably have to win. I mean, at the present time, Argentina are only 11-4 not to qualify out of this group. Now, they're 11-10 to win this game. Croatia is at 14-5, and the draw is at 23-10. Croatia have had their own problems. Of course, they sent the player home from the World Cup. But I think actually that might galvanise the squad, because he wouldn't come off the bench anyway and go on and represent his country. So you don't want anyone there with that attitude. I think this could be tight. I think both teams will score. That's just a shade worse of even money at 20-21. The Argentinian coach, Sampaoli, has never used the same 11 in 2 consecutive games. So I expect him to make 1 or 2 changes to the first 11 that only drew against Iceland. It'll be interesting to see what he does. How his formation would be the key to me. Argentina looked lost. They didn't seem to have a plan B. They put everything through Messi. And if that doesn't work, they came up short against Iceland, who were very rigid with those 2 banks of 4. And I think Croatia will go into this game as well and sit back and say to Argentina, come and break us down. Because if Croatia get a point here, they're nearly into the last 16. And I'm going to go with the draw. I think at 23-10, I think Croatia are quite capable of getting a point against Argentina. Argentina's midfield lacks a bit of creativity. Their back 4 is not the best. Yeah. They've got great players in terms of Aguero, Messi, of course. I'd like to see Dembele get a start. I think he's a very, very exciting player. He can create something as well as Messi. But I'm going to sit on the fence. I think the draw at 23-10 is probably the way I'd play the final game this evening at 7 o'clock.
Right, okay. And just before we let you go, Leon, there's a new customer exclusive on the England game if you go on to offtheball.com/BoyleSports.
There certainly is. They're 33-1 to beat Panama for new customers. Now, we all saw with England, that last-minute goal by Harry Kane is sure to give them plenty of confidence. I think they'll beat Panama, and I think at 33-1, if you don't have a BoyleSports account, you should get on offtheball.com/BoyleSports. England 33-1. I'm not joking when I say that price, to beat Panama.
Nice one, Liam. We'll make sure to get on that for any new customers. offtheball.com/BoyleSports. Thanks a million. We'll chat to you from Royal Ascot tomorrow.
All the best, Owen.
So just to remind people of that, it is offtheball.com/BoyleSports for those offers. That was Leon Blanche on the line joining us from the racing. We've got Denmark against Australia, which has just kicked off, 4 minutes in, and it is still scoreless. We never really chatted about the teams here. There wasn't much to talk about really because they're both unchanged. Maybe one change for Denmark, was it?
One for Denmark, yeah. Kvist is gone and they brought in Shunna.
Yeah, Kvist went off injured.
Yeah.
Looked pretty nasty in the first game.
Australia unchanged. I watched the France-Australia game the other morning and I have to say I was really impressed with Australia. Now, you know, they're not an exciting team. It's Van Marwijk, of course, brought Holland to the final in 2010 and we all know what that Dutch team was like. And I know a couple of Dutch football fans who were absolutely disgusted with the kind of football they were playing that season. But he has got Australia nice and solid, nice and compact. They don't leave too much space at the back. Who I was really impressed by was actually Moy, who we all know from Huddersfield Town. He's the playmaker. Everything goes through him. And you've got Tom Rogic as well, who I'm a big Celtic fan myself, and Rogic is a superb player in the attack. He's a really nippy, really skillful player, good technical player. But Moy, I was really impressed by because he plays a lot. He's playing deeper than he does for. You would have seen Huddersfield a good bit, Nathan, over the season. I think he plays a little bit deeper with Australia, and everything goes through him.
Yeah, he has the creative ability, but they don't want that. They're incredibly well drilled. It looks as though they've spent a lot of time over the past month saying, we're not going to have a lot of possession. We understand that we're the weakest team in our group, but we're just going to sit. And they've got the experience of Jedinak in there as well, so they're not going to get caught out of position. And we know what Denmark can do. I'd like to see Roy Keane's pre-match analysis of this because it's very simple. Do not draw a big square where you want Christian Eriksen to be, which is essentially what Ireland did that night. They said, if you were to ask Christian Eriksen pre-game, where would he like space? That's where Ireland let him have the ball. You think with Moy and Jedinak sitting deep, he's probably going to end up getting it maybe 15, 20 yards deeper than he wants, and that's probably the key for Australia. If
that happened against Peru, really, to a certain extent, didn't it? They certainly didn't give him as much space right in front of the danger zone, which is what Ireland did.
Absolutely. And the one thing I think that really saved Denmark against Peru, literally, was Schmeichel. He was absolutely fantastic. I think they had 18 shots on goal, 6 on target, Peru. And Schmeichel was just, he's playing out of his skin. He's actually goalkeeper of the tournament so far.
Yeah. You even watch him in the very early stages there. Eriksen wants to be involved in absolutely everything. Yeah. In terms of yards run in the first game, he was second out of every player in the entire tournament. So you wouldn't expect that from him because you just sort of see him as a number 10 in behind the striker. But with Denmark, he wants to be dropping deep
a cracker.
And I think they're going to make a real impression on this tournament.
Yeah, that is.
I don't see a chance for Australia. Really don't see an opportunity for Australia in this.
Christian Eriksen, 1-0. Denmark leads 7 minutes into the game. It is looking very, very good for Denmark. Looking at this, are you just getting not just tinges of regret, but serious doses of regret right now about how things ended for Ireland, seeing that Denmark could be qualified for the knockout stages this evening?
Yeah, but Denmark beat us 5-1. It's not as if this was some sort of hard luck story whereby there wasn't a huge amount between the two teams. It was some finish. He's left in too much space again, really, isn't he? You look unmarked. The Australian defence has just opened up. The Australian defence just opened up. There's a big gap, and Eriksson hits it on the volley. He's kind of leaning back, which is actually more impressive because he is actually leaning back, volleys it in with his left foot, and gives the keeper Matt Ryan no chance. I would say that is literally the exact opposite of everything I just said within 60 seconds.
Yeah, it's strange for Van Marwijk side to actually just leave that much space. Was it a counter attack? I think Australia had a corner at the opposite end of the
No, Denmark had won a throw in over on the far side, and Australia never managed to get it clear. But it was a wonderful finish. We would love to be there. I do think if Ireland got there, we'd be going for more an Australian style game plan of frustrate the living hell out of teams and have our moments.
Listen, Australia went down as well to France at the weekend. They came back, they levelled the match. Obviously, unfortunately, they lost in the end, but they are able to fight back from a goal down, so I'd still give them a little bit of hope. Yeah. I thought Australia would get a point today, and I'd still give a bit of faith in them, yeah.
The 0-0 is out the window there anyway at this point. We do want to talk England briefly. Gareth Southgate picked up an injury yesterday. He's done his collarbone. He's dislocated it. I'm not sure, can we bring up an image of him in a sling in just a second. He actually walked out to training this morning sans sling. Look, there he is with his sling yesterday, but like this morning there's pictures of him at the training ground and he didn't have a sling. Like, that's either a remarkably quickly healing collarbone or else he's just kind of fighting through the pain.
I was trying to remember as well, he went out injured in 98, didn't he? He had some sort of a training ground accident. He tried to control the ball and fell over. I think he did ligaments or something like that. I was trying to Google it this morning. I couldn't find anything, but pretty unfortunate incident. He was out jogging, I think, was he?
Yeah, out jogging.
He tripped over.
Yeah, but he was on par for a record 10k time, he said. Just another top bant quip from the England camp. There's been many quips from the England camp. They're a very happy camp. I'm not sure if you heard.
It would be quite frustrating, though. We saw the way he likes to celebrate. That the entire time you're thinking, no, just keep the arm here.
I'm not having that waistcoat, though. Seriously.
No, you're not going to a wedding, pal.
Is he a snooker player? Or, as you say, come on. Waistcoat on the sideline.
Yeah,
relax. Give me a rest.
A waistcoat with a collarbone problem as well. I'm not sure, does that work? We'll have to see how he reacts to that. We'll also have to see how they react to this, which is apparently the team, well, not apparently, potentially the team being leaked. We've, as you can see up on screen there, Raheem Sterling might be dropped for England's World Cup 2018 clash against Panama. There was a sheet of paper which was snapped by a couple of photographers. We can see it there, which would suggest that Sterling is going to be dropped for Rashford. The names on top there are the names that are going to start. So you can see Lingard, you can see Kane, you can see Rashford, you can see Henderson, you can see Ali. It basically all adds up to the starting 11 that started.
Is that not Sterling just outside the centre circle there?
But that's the bottom name. That would be the backup player.
Yeah, I thought it said Raheem Sterling.
So taking that into account, this could just be for a training drill, but chances are if it was for a training drill, 11v11, and if they're the other 10 players, chances are that's going to be the starting player. We've seen this before. We've seen it in the Rugby World Cup last time with an Australian coach leaving out line-out instructions or something before facing the All Blacks. It never kind of materialises into something tangible, but it is kind of another scenario where you're looking at Sterling being the centre of attention once again.
It does seem as though they've decided that Sterling and Rashford can play together, though, which from a long way out looked as though maybe their best bet that you would have the pace of Rashford and Sterling either side of Harry Kane. But with this formation that they're trying out in the World Cup, where it's two up front and he wants somebody alongside Harry Kane, you would maybe have Rashford in there, but you have to find a place for Sterling in that side. I thought, all right, he didn't have the final touch, and again he misses so many clear-cut opportunities. But he's still the one guy you feel can spark something, has that moment of devastating pace, has the trickery. Maybe the pressure, maybe everything that's gone on over the past month is affecting him. Obviously, Gareth Southgate's seen him a lot closer than we are. Maybe there is something that actually Sterling's a little bit down on himself and he just feels he's going to take him out of the spotlight for a while. But if they're to go on, if they're to do damage, their best spell of football, well, it's only one game, but that opening 20 minutes, Sterling was key to that. He was involved in everything. So you can't just ignore that. But if Dele Alli's injured, maybe that feeds into the thinking as well.
The thing is, they're playing against Panama, who were pretty poor against Belgium, and I have to say Belgium I thought could have been better. Now, you've got a pacey team like England. if they want to go out there, get a couple of goals, they need pace in the attack, which Sterling has, and to drop him for such a, they're going to win this game. If he gets a goal in this game, it's going to boost his confidence. I think if you drop him for a game like this, it could have the opposite effect. So I just think it'd be a bit rash, if you pardon the pun, to drop Raheem Sterling.
Well, there you go. We're not going to top the analysis around England after that pun right there. We are going to top it though with some outstanding journalism. Peru, a controversial side, Steve-O. You've been, when I say you're doing journalism, I mean you've found a Wikipedia page which lists all the Peru controversies. What is it about this Peru team, not this Peru team, but Peru football in general?
Well, I was trying to get some team news last night, and I saw an article which referred to the fact that the Peruvian national football team has had so many discipline scandals that it's actually got a dedicated Wikipedia page, which is titled Peru National Football Team in Discipline Scandals. And going back to '96, they all seem to be named after the venue where they were. You had the Miramar scandal, which players, some people will remember, Nobby Solano, of course, who played for Newcastle. Roberto Farfan, if you remember his name, because it's going to become, it will be one we'll refer back to in a moment. Percy Olivares and Juan Marengo caught drinking beer and playing music during the time in which they were supposed to be preparing for qualifiers against Uruguay. The football players were found along with volleyball players Jessica Tiada and Margarita Delgado, and Peru then failed to qualify for the 1998 World Cup. That was 96. 2002, during the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, a salsa group in the Videna was caught entertaining the players with alcohol and music during their concentration.
The alcohol and music.
Additionally, women were found to have entered the concentration zone, which I think they mean the camp. Peru failed to qualify for this World Cup.
Kind of grim.
That 5 years later, 2007, Hotel Golf Los Incas scandal. During the 2010 World Cup qualification season, a corruption and indiscipline scandal shook the national team as Peruvian journalists Jamie Bailey and Magali Medina revealed that a series of Peru's most recognised players, including Claudio Pizarro, Andres Mendoza, Santiago Acastie, Paulo Guerrero, who is still playing for Peru, we expect him to start today, and Jefferson Farfan, were seen at nightclubs and parties only days before the team was scheduled to play qualifier matches. Several players banned from playing for the national team, while others were put under investigation. Now, the Farfan name, as I said, will become, Roberto Farfan, who I mentioned earlier, is the uncle of Jefferson Farfan, who was caught in that scandal and who was still playing with the team. And then we finished with the 2010 Panama Casino scandal, when following a friendly match against Panama, journalists from the Central American country revealed photos which 3 Peruvian national football team players were discovered breaking their concentration in order to attend the casino. 2 of the players, identified as young midfielder Raymond Manco and the veteran defender John Galico. The identity of the third player was kept a mystery until Peruvian newspaper Bocon revealed it was the famous forward Jefferson Farfan.
Wow, okay.
Again, the player accused by Manco and Galquio of inciting the group to leave their concentration despite the orders of the coach to stay in their rooms. Now, I'm just thinking music, football. It did kind of bring me back to Trapattoni and Andy Reid.
Well, I was more thinking that this was very much Jack's time. This was celebrated. Maybe they just need to chill out.
Yeah, I think. We were qualifying for World Cups and Championships.
But none of these guys were getting. Most of these guys were getting back involved. It wasn't Andy Reid in exile for 5 years.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, absolutely. But I think maybe we should look into starting up an Irish football scandal Wikipedia page.
There is no scandals. There's nothing to see here. Absolutely nothing to see here.
Saipan.
I like the way that there was one of the Peruvian journalists was called Jamie Bailey. It's like that's a great Peruvian name right there.
Grass is the whole lot of them.
Yeah.
What's the scandal this time round?
Well, they're saying now that they're keeping it clean, that there's a lot of pressure on them because they've had so many scandals that they owe the country progression in this World Cup. They owe it to their... Now, I don't know, Pearl Cueva looked pretty shook after missing that penalty.
Yeah, hardly a scandal though.
I think that shows you the kind of pressure that's on the shoulders of these players.
Paulo Guerrero would have fitted in perfectly with the trend of scandals, but I'm wondering about Paulo Guerrero because all his group compatriots have basically voted for him to be allowed to play. They signed a petition that the CAS would drop their kind of suspension of Guerrero. And would it not be a bit rude of Guerrero to go out and score goals against him now? It's like, thanks for allowing me to play. Now I'm going to go crush your dreams. It's
a good point, actually. Yeah. Maybe is there some sort of a clause where he can't score against the people who stood up for him?
Maybe that back heel was the liberty miss the other night. Who knows? Who knows? That is France against Peru. Kicks off at 4 o'clock. Argentina against Croatia is the game of the night, though. It kicks off at 7 o'clock tonight. Off the Ball is live from 7 o'clock this evening on News Talk and on social channels. What's coming up, Nathan?
John Giles.
How many times?
2 times.
2 times.
He's in studio. He's going to be with us 7:30 as always, and then he's going to watch Argentina against Croatia, and we're going to get John Giles' instant post-match reaction.
Immediate post-match analysis from John Giles. It's going to be a nostalgic time on the football show this evening on News Talk. We're back live here on World Cup Daily from 12 o'clock rather tomorrow afternoon. The hurling show is coming up right away after us tomorrow afternoon, and OTB AM tomorrow morning from 7:45 a.m. Enjoy the football this evening, and we'll chat to you again tomorrow afternoon. Good luck for now.